In a dark, silent room, a single acoustic ping strikes the human eardrum, the point of entry for a meticulously engineered physiological pipeline. The life cycle of a digital trigger begins with the physical vibration of the inner ear and terminates in the reconfiguration of human brain chemistry. This process relies on the intersection of three rigorous scientific disciplines: psychoacoustics, associative learning, and behavioral engineering. By integrating the physics of sound, the biology of conditioning, and the mechanics of friction, product designers map and exploit the specific architecture of human compulsion. A user checking a device is rarely displaying a lack of willpower. They are responding to a physiological dependency designed into the system. The modern environment is a sea of wideband noise, a constant hum of traffic and appliances that masks the majority of incoming auditory signals.
Before a digital prompt can initiate a behavior, it must physically breach the absolute threshold of the human auditory system. This graph plots the minimum audible field, the physical boundary of human hearing. In practice, ambient static acts as an acoustic shield, masking most sounds. To penetrate this, an alert must be a sharp, isolated signal, concentrating energy into a narrow frequency corridor. Psychoacoustics identifies this filter as the equivalent rectangular bandwidth, or ERB. It is the mathematical width required for a sound to cut through auditory clutter. Because the cochlea functions as a bank of frequency filters, hitting the exact ERB isolates the digital signal and demands the auditory nerve's immediate attention. The Nokia Grand Vals ringtone was an early pioneer of this method. These notes were acoustically engineered to hit the most sensitive frequency ranges of the human ear, ensuring the signal reached the brain regardless of the user's surroundings. A notification sound serves a specific acoustic function. It is a frequency-matched signal designed to override other auditory input and force sensory perception. Once the sound reaches the ear, the brain must assign it psychological meaning. In biology, an unconditioned stimulus, such as the smell of food, triggers a natural biological response, like hunger. Ivan Pavlov discovered that this natural reflex could be reassigned to a neutral cue. By ringing a bell right before feeding his dogs, Pavlov proved that a meaningless sound could eventually trigger salivation on its own. This is effect transfer. When a neutral cue is consistently paired with a reward, the cue itself eventually triggers the reward's emotional response. Nike utilizes this principle by pairing a simple swoosh with the raw emotion of athletic achievement. Coca-Cola employs the same architecture, using celebrity endorsements to map the excitement of status onto a beverage. In the context of a smartphone, the acoustic ping is the bell. The unconditioned stimulus is the digital reward: instant social validation, deep tribal connection, or endless novelty. Repeated pairings transform the ping into a biological trigger, producing a surge of anticipation before the user has consciously identified the sound. Anticipation must then be converted into physical action. The mechanics of this conversion are engineered at Stanford University's Behavior Design Lab. Dr. B.J. Fogg's behavior model, B equals MAP, states that action occurs when motivation, ability, and a prompt converge. This chart plots ability against motivation. Prompts above the action line succeed. Designers often rely on motivation, but it is volatile, dropping engagement below the line. Fogg realized simplicity is stable. By maximizing ability, engineers keep behavior above the action line even when motivation crashes. Pushing a user to the right of the x-axis involves minimizing user time, eliminating physical effort, and reducing cognitive load. Successful applications do not rely on a user's desire. They make it mathematically difficult for the user to fail at using the product. Once the action is performed, the brain experiences the neurochemical consequence. This sequence follows the hook model: trigger, action, variable reward, and investment. Nir Eyal, the architect of this model, explains how technology creates self-reinforcing habits. The continuous delivery of unpredictable variable rewards causes the brain's nucleus accumbens to release a surge of dopamine. Natural neurochemistry requires a balance between effort and dopamine. Digital engineering fractures this homeostasis. B equals MAP removes the effort, while the hook model increases the reward. When the scale violently tips toward reward without effort, the brain enters a state of crisis. To survive this unnatural flood of dopamine, the brain initiates downregulation. It prunes its own receptors to mute the signal, lowering the user's neurochemical baseline. The user is left in a state of deficit. Returning to the app provides a brief restoration of dopamine levels, shifting the behavior from a search for pleasure to a search for relief from this imbalance. This pipeline operates in a precise sequence. Psychoacoustics ensure the trigger physically breaches our perception. Pavlovian conditioning ensures the trigger is felt, generating an involuntary spike of anticipation. The BEMAP framework ensures the physical action is effortless, bypassing conscious deliberation. Variable rewards flood the system with dopamine, forcing the brain to downregulate and altering the neurochemical baseline. This machinery results in a relentless cycle of swiping and scrolling, a behavior driven by biological triggers that override the user's intent. Critics such as Tristan Harris argue that systems optimized strictly for engagement exploit human vulnerabilities to capture attention. Engineering away all friction creates a system that bypasses conscious thought. When every biological threshold is breached and the neurochemical baseline is suppressed, the individual's ability to choose their next action is systematically undermined.